next morning, although he couldn't tell it was daylight, he kept his eyes shut tight. It was a dream, he told himself firmly. I dreamed a giant called Hagrid. It came to tell me I was going to a school for wizards. When I opened my eyes, I'll be at home in my cupboard. There was suddenly a loud tapping noise, and there's Aunt Tanya knocking on the door. Harry thought, his heart shrinking, but still didn't open his eyes. It had been such a good dream. Tap, tap. All right, Harry mumbled. I'm getting up. He sat up, and Hagrid's heavy coat fell off him. The hall was full of sunlight. The storm was over. Hagrid himself was asleep on the collapsed sofa, and there was an owl rapping its claws on the window. A newspaper held in its beak. Harry scrambled to his feet, so happy he felt as though a large balloon was swelling inside him. He went straight to the window and jerked it open. The owl swooped in and dropped the newspaper on the top of Hagrid, who didn't wake up. The owl then fluttered into the floor and began to attack Hagrid's coat. Don't do that. Harry tried to wave the owl out of the way, but it snapped its beak fiercely. At him, he carried on, swatting coat. Hagrid, said Harry loudly. There's an owl. Pay him. Hagrid turned into the sofa. What? He was paying for delivering the newspaper. Look in the pockets. Hagrid's coat seemed to be made of nothing but pockets. Keys, luck plates, balls of strings, peppermint bags, tea bags. Finally, Harry pulled out a handful of strange-looking coins. Gives himself 5 nuts, said Hagrid sleepingly. Nuts? A little bronze one. Harry counted out 5 little bronze coins, and the owl held out his legs so Harry could put the money into a small leather pouch tied to it. Then he flew off through the open window. Hagrid yawned loudly, sat up, and stretched. Best be off, Harry. Lots to do today. Gotta get up to London and buy all your stuff for school. Harry was turning over the wizard coins and looking at them. He said just though of something that made him feel as though as happy balloon inside him had got a puncture. Hagrid, said Hagrid, who was pulling on his huge boots. I haven't got any money, and you heard Uncle Vernon last night. He won't pay for me to go and learn magic. Don't worry about that, said Hagrid, standing up and scratching his head. Do you think your parents didn't leave anything if their house was destroyed? They didn't keep their gold in the house, boy. No, first stop for us is Gringotts, Wizard's Bank. Have a sausage. They are not bad cold. And I wouldn't say no to a bit of your birthday cake neither. Wizard have banks? Just the one Gringotts, run by goblins. Harry dropped the bit of sausage he was holding. Goblins. Yeah. So you had be mad to try and rob it. I'll tell you that. Never mess with goblins. Harry Gringotts is the safest place in the world for anything you want to keep safe. Maybe Hogwarts. As a matter of fact, I got to visit Gringotts anyway for Dumbledore. Hogwarts business. Hagrid drew himself up proudly. He usually gets me to do important stuff for him. Fetching you, getting things from Gringotts. No, he can trust me. See. Got everything. And then Harry followed Hagrid out onto the rock. The sky was quite clear now and the sea gleamed in the sunlight. The boat Uncle Vernon had hired was still there. With a lot of water in the bottom after the storm. How did you get here? Harry asked, looking around for another boat. Flew, said Hagrid. Flew? Yeah. We'll go back in this. Not opposed to use magic now. I have got you. They settled down in the boat. Harry still started staring at Hagrid, trying to imagine him flying. Seemed ashamed to row. said Hagrid, giving Harry another of his sideway look. If I was to speed things up a bit, would you mind not mention it at Hogwarts? Of course not, said Harry, eager to see more magic. Hagrid pulled out the pink umbrella again, tapped it twice on the side of the boat, and they sped off towards land. Why would you be mad to try and rob Gringotts? Harry asked. Spell enchantments, said Hagrid, unfolding his newspaper as he spoke. They say there are dragons guarding the high security vaults. And then you gotta find your way. Gringotts is hundreds of miles under London Sea, deep under the underground. You had died of hunger trying to get out, even if you didn't manage to get your hand off Suman. Harry said and thought about this while Hagrid read his newspaper. The Daily Prophet. Harry had learned about from Uncle Vernon that people liked to be left alone while they did this. But it was very difficult. He had never had so many questions in his life. Ministry of Magic Mason. Things up as usual, Hagrid muttered, turning the page. There's a Ministry of Magic? Harry asked, before he could stop himself. Of course, said Hagrid. They wanted Dumbledore for Ministry, of course. But he had never left Hogwarts. So Lord Cornelius Fogg got the job. Bungler, if ever there was one. So he paid Dumbledore with owl every morning asking for advice. But what does a Ministry of Magic do? Well, their main job is to keep it from the muggles that there is still witches and wizards up and down the country. Why? Why, Blimmy? Harry, everyone be wanting magic solution to their problems. No, we are best left alone. At this moment, the boat bumped gently into the harbour wall. Hagrid followed up his newspaper and they clambered up the stone kept steps on the street. Passersby stared a lot of Hagrid as they walked through a little town to the station. Harry couldn't blame them. Not only was Hagrid twice as tall as anyone else, he kept pointing at perfectly ordinary things like parking meter and saying loudly, "See that, Harry? Thinks this muggle dreamed up." Yeah. Hagrid and Harry panting a bit as he ran to keep up. Did you say there are dragons at Gringotts? Well, so they say, said Hagrid. Cricky. I had like a dragon. You're like one? Wanted one ever since I was kid. Yup, yo. They had reached at the station. There was a train to London in 5 minutes' time. Hagrid could understand Muggle's money, as he called it, bill to Harry, so he could buy air tickets. He started more than a row on the train. Hagrid took up 2 seats and sat lighting what looked like canary on his surface. Still go to you later, Harry? He asked as he counted stitches. Harry took a parchment envelope out of his pocket. Good, said Hagrid. There is a list there of everything you need. Harry unfolded a second piece of paper he hadn't noticed the night before and read. Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry uniform. First year student will require first 3 sets of plain work robbers. Second, plain pointed hat, black for day wear. Third, one pair of protective gloves, dragon hide or similar. 4. One winter clock, black silver fastening. Please note that all pupils' clothes should carry name tag, house book. All students should have a copy of each of the following: The Standard Book of Spells, Grade 1, by Miranda Boschwag, A History of Magic by Bathilda Baxter, Magical Theory by Albert Waffling, A Beginner's Guide to Transfiguration by A Magic Switch 1000 Magical Herbs and Fungi by Philada Spore, Magical Raft and Potion by Arsonist Jigger. Fascinate fantastic bits and where to find them by New Scamander. The Dark Force, a guide to self-protection by Quentin Trimble. Other equipments. One's Cardron, Pewter Standard Size 2. Set glass of crystal Pearls, telescope set, brass scale. Students may also bring an owl or a cat or a toad. Parents are reminded that first year are not allowed their own boomsticks. Can we buy all this in London? Harry wondered aloud. If you know where to go, said Hagrid. Harry had never been to London before, although Hagrid seemed to know where he was going. He was obviously not used to getting there in an ordinary way. He got stuck in the ticket barrier on the underground and complained loudly that the seats were too small and the trains too slow. I don't know how the Muggles manage without magic, he said as they climbed a broken down escalator that led up to a bustling road lined with shops. Hagrid was so huge that he parted the crowd easily. All Harry had to do was keep close behind him. They passed bookshop and music store, hamburg restaurant and cinemas. But now here that looked as if it could sell you a magic wand. This was just an ordinary street full of ordinary people. Could there really be piles of wizards' gold buried miles beneath them? Were there really shops that sold spell books and broomsticks? Might this not all the some huge joke that the Dursley had cooked up? If Harry hadn't known that the Dursley had no sense of humor, he might have thought so. You somewhere. Even though everything Hagrid had told him so far as was unbelievable, Harry couldn't help trusting him. This is it, said Hagrid, coming to a halt. The Leaky Cauldron. It's a famous place. It was a tiny, grubbly looking pub. If Hagrid hadn't pointed it out, Harry wouldn't have noticed it was there. The people hurrying by didn't glance at it. The eyes slid from the big bookshop on one side to record shop on the other side, as if they couldn't see the Leaky Cauldron at all. In fact, Harry had the most peculiar feeling that only he and Hagrid could see it. Before he could mention his, Hagrid and stared him inside. For a famous place, it was very dark and shabby. A few old women were sitting in the corner drinking tiny glass of sherry. One of them was smoking a long pipe. A little man in a top hat was talking to one old partner who was quite bald and looked like a toothless walnut. The low buzz of chatter stopped when they walked in. Everyone seemed to know Hagrid. They waved and smiled at him, and the bartender reached for a glass, saying the usual, Hagrid. Can't Tom, I'm on Hogwarts business, said Hagrid, clapping his great hand on Harry's shoulder and making Harry's knees buckle. God Lord, said the bartender, peering at Harry. Can this be? The Leaky Cauldron had suddenly gone completely still and silent. Bless my soul, whispered the old bartender. Harry Potter. An honor. He hurried out from behind the bar, rushed towards Harry and seized his hand, tear in his eyes. Welcome back, Mr. Potter, welcome back. Harry didn't know what to say. Everyone was looking at him. The old woman with the pipe was puffing on it without realizing it had gone out. Hagrid was beaming. Then there was a great scraping of chair, and the next moment Harry found himself shaking hands with everyone in the Leaky Cauldron. Doris Crockford. Mr. Potter, I can't believe I'm meeting you at last. So proud, Mr. Potter, I'm just so proud. Always wanted to shake your hand. I'm all of flutter. Delight, Mr. Potter, just can't tell you. Biggles the name. Biggles. I have seen you before, said Harry, as Daryl's Digger's top had fell off in his excitement. "You bore me to once at shop," he remembers, cried Digger, looking around at everyone. "Did you hear that? He remembered me." Harry shook hand again and again. Doris Crockford kept coming back for more. A pale young man made his way forward, very nervously. One of his eyes was twitching. "Professor Quirrell," said Hagrid. "Harry, Professor Quirrell will be one of your teachers at Hogwarts." "Potter," stammered Professor Quirrell, grasping Harry's hand. "Can't tell you how pleased I am to meet you." "What sort of magic do you teach, Professor Quirrell?" "The defense against the dark art," muttered Professor Quirrell, as though he had rather not thinking about it. "No, not that you need it, ye Potter." He laughed nervously. "You'll be getting all your equipments, I suppose. I have gotten to pick up a new book on vampires myself." He looked terrified at very broad, but the other wouldn't let Professor Quirrell keep Harry to himself. It took almost 10 minutes to get away from them all. At least Hagrid managed to make himself heard over the babble. "Must get on lots to buy. Come on, Harry." Boris Crackford shook Harry's hand once last time, and Hagrid led them through the bar and out into a small walled courtyard, where there was nothing but a trash can and a fat weed. Hagrid grinned at Harry. "Told ye, didn't I? Told you was famous. Even Professor Quirrell was trembling to meet you. Mind you, his usual trembling. Is he always that nervous? Oh yeah. Poor block brilliant mind. He was fine while he was studying out books, but then he took a year off to get some first-hand experience. They say he met vampire in the Black Forest and there was a nasty bit of trouble with a hag. Never been the same since. Scared of the student. Scared of his own subject and now wears an umbrella. Vampire. Hags. Harry's head was swimming. Hagrid, meanwhile, was counting bricks in the wall above the trash can. "3 up, 2 cross," he muttered. "Right sandbag, Harry." He tapped the wall 3 times with the point of his umbrella. The tree had touched gravel, it wriggled, and the middle of a small had touched, rivered, it wriggled. In the middle, a small hole appeared. It grew wider and wider. A second later, they were facing an archway large enough even for Hagrid, an archway onto a cobbled space that twisted and turned out of sight. "Welcome," said Hagrid to Diagon Alley. He grinned at Harry's amazement. Stepped through the archway. Harry looked quickly over his shoulder and saw the archway shrinking instantly back into solid wall. The sun shone brightly on a stack of cauldrons outside the nearest shop. Cauldrons, all sizes, copper, brass, pewter, silver, self-stringing, collapsible, said a sign hanging over them. "Yeah, you'll be in needing one," said Hagrid, "but we have got to get your money first." Harry wished he had about 8 more eyes. He turned his head in every direction as they walked up the street, trying to look at everything at once. The shop, the things outside them, the people doing their shopping. A plump woman inside an apothecary was shaking her head as they paused, saying "Dragon's liver, 17 sickle, and arms they are mad." A low softening hooting came from a dark shop with a sign saying "I Lopes Owl Emporium." Tawny screech, burnt brown and snowy. Several boys of about Harry's age had their nose pressed against a window with broomstick in it. Looking, Harry heard one of them say the new Nimbus 2000 fastest ever. There were shops selling ropes, shops selling telescope and strange silver instrument Harry had never seen before. Windows stacked with barrels of bats, spleens and seals, eyes, tottering piles of spell books, quills and rolls of parchment, fortune bottle, globes of the moon, Grignard said Hagrid. They had reached a snowy white building that towered over the little shop. Standing beside its burnished brown door, wearing the uniform of scarlet and gold was, "Yeah, that's a goblin," said Hagrid quickly. As they walked up the white stone step towards him, the goblin was about to head shorter than Harry. He had a swarthy, clever face, a pointed beard, and Harry noticed very long fingers and feet. He bowed as they walked inside. Now they were facing a second pair of doors, silver this time, with words engraved upon them. Enter stranger, but take heed of what await the sin of greed. For those who take but do not earn must pay most dearly in their turn. So if you seek beneath our floors treasure that was never yours, thief, you have been warned, beware of finding more than treasure there. Like I said, you had been made to try and rob it, said Hagrid. A pair of goblins bore them through the silver doors and they were in the vast marble hall. About 100 more goblins were sitting on the high stalls behind a long counter, scribbling in large letters, weighing coins in brass scale, examining precious stones through eyeglass. There were too many doors to count leading off the hall, and yet more goblins were showing people in and out of this. Hagrid and Harry made for the counter. "Good morning," said Hagrid to a free goblin. "We have come to take some money out Mr. Harry Potter's safe. You have his key, sir. Put it there somewhere," said Hagrid, and he started emptying his pocket onto the counter, scattering a handful of moldy dog biscuit over the goblin book of numbers. The goblin wrinkled his nose. Harry watched the goblin on their light, wiggling a pile of rubbish as big as glowing gold. "Got it," said Hagrid at last, holding up a tiny golden key. Goblin looked at it closely. "That seemed to be in order. And I have got a letter here from Professor Dumbledore," said Hagrid importantly, throwing out his chest. "It's about you know what, in the ward 713. The goblin read the letter carefully. "Very well," he said, handing it back to Hagrid. "I will have someone take you down to both worlds." Greenfolk. Greenfolk was yet another goblin. Once Hagrid had crammed all the dog biscuits back inside his pocket, he was Harry followed Greenfolk toward one of the doors leading off the hall. "What's you know what in Vault 713? Harry asked. "Can't tell you that," said Hagrid mysteriously. "Very secret. Hogwarts business. Dumbledore trusted me more and my job's word to tell you that." Griffook held the door open for them. Harry, who had expected more marble, was surprised they were in a narrow stone passageway lit up flaming torches. It sloped steeply downward and there were little railway tracks on the floor. Grimfook whistled and a small cart came hurtling up the track towards them. They climbed in, Hagrid with some difficulty, and was off. At first they just hurtled through a maze of twisting passages. Harry tried to remember left, right, middle, fork, right, left, but it was impossible. The rattling cart seemed to know its own way. Because Grimfolk wasn't steering, Harry's eyes stung at the cold air rushed past them, but he kept them wide open. Once he thought he saw a burst of fire at the end of the passage and twisted around to see if it was a dragon, but too late. They plunged even deeper, passing an underground lake where huge stalactites and stalagmites grew from the ceiling and floor. I never know, Harry called to Hagrid over the noise of the cord. What's the difference between the stalagmite and stalactite? Stalagmites got an yum in it and Hagrid and don't ask me question just now. I think I'm gonna see. He did look very green and when the cart stopped at last beside a small door in the passage wall, Hagrid got out and had to lean against the wall to stop his knees from trembling. Grimfolk unlocked the door. A lot of green smoke came bowling out, and as I cleared, Harry gasped. Inside were mounds of gold coins, columns of silver heaps, and little bronze nuts. All yours, smiled Hagrid. All Harry's? It was incredible. The Dursley couldn't have known about this or they have had it from him faster than blinking. How often had they complained how much Harry cost them to keep? And all the time there had been a small fortune belonging to him, buried deep under London. Hagrid helped Harry pile some of it into the bag. The gold one are gallons, he explained. 17 silver sickle too. A gallon and 29 nuts to sickle it is easy enough. Right, that should be enough for a couple of terms. We'll keep the rest safe for you. He turned to Greenfolk. Walt even 100 and 13 now, please. And can we go more slowly? One speed only, said Greenfolk. They were going even deeper now and gathering speed. The air became colder and colder as they heard a sound tight corner. They went rattling over underground and ravine and Harry leaned over the side to try to see what was down at dark bottom. But Hagrid drawn and pulled him back by the scruff of his neck. Vault 713 had no keyhole. Stand back, said Greypoke importantly. He stroked the door gently with one of his long fingers and it simply melted away. If anyone but Green thought the goblin tried that, they had been sucked through the doors and trapped in there, said Greenfoot. How often do you check to see if anyone inside? Harry asked. About once every 10 years, said Greyfoot. Rather than staggering. Sometimes really extraordinary had to be inside this top security vault. Harry was sure and he leaned forward eagerly, expecting to see fabulous jewels at the very least, but at first he thought it was empty. Then he noticed ice grubby light packed wrapping up in a brown paper lying on the floor. Hagrid picked it up and tucked it deep inside his coat. Harry longed to know what it was, knew better than to ask. Come on, back in this infernal cart, and don't talk to me on the way back. It's best if I keep my mouth shut, said Hagrid. One wild cart ride later, they stood blinkingly in the sunlight outside Gringotts. Harry didn't know where to run first now that he had a bag full of money. He didn't have to know how many gallons there were to a pound to know that he was holding more money than he had had in his whole life, more money than ever Dudley ever had. Might as well get uniform, said Hagrid. Not for Madame Malkin's robes for all occasions. Listen, Harry, would you mind if I slipped off for a pick me up in the little Ron? I hate them. Green got cards. He did still look a bit sick, so Harry entered Madame Malkin's shop alone, feeling nervous. Madame Malkin was a squad, smiling witch, dressed all in a mauve. Hogwarts, clear, she said, when Harry started to speak. What a lot here. Another young man being fitted up just now, in fact. Back of the shop, a boy with a pale, pointed face was standing on the footstool, while second witch pinned up his long black robe. Madame Malkin stooped Harry on the stool next to him, slipped a long robe over his head and began to pin it to the right length. Hello, said the boy. Hogwarts too. Yes, said Harry. My father next door buying my books and mother up that street looking at once, said the boy. He had a broad, dwelling voice. Then I am going to drag them off to took at dressing room. I don't see why first year can't have their own. I think I'll bully further into getting me one and I'll smuggle it in somewhere. Harry was strongly reminded of Dudley. Have you gotten your own broom? The boy went on. No, said Harry. Play Quidditch at all? No, said Harry again, wondering what on earth Quidditch could be. I do. Father says it's a crime if I'm not picked to play for my house. And I must say I agreed. No, what house you'll be in yet? No, said Harry, feeling more stupid by the minute. Well, no one really knows until they get there, do they? But I know I'll be in Slytherin. All our families have been. Imagine being in Hufflepuff. I think I had lived. Wouldn't you? Said Harry, wishing he could say something a bit more interesting. I say, look at that man, said the boy suddenly, nodding toward the front window. Hagrid was standing there, grinning at Harry and pointing at two large ice cream to show he couldn't come in. That's Hagrid, said Harry, pleased to know something the boy didn't. He worked at Hogwarts. Oh, said the boy, I have heard of him. He's a sort of servant, isn't he? He's the gamekeeper, said Harry. He was liking the boy less and less every second. Yes, exactly. I heard he is sort of savage. Live in a hut on the school's ground and every now and then gets drink. Tried to do magic and he ended up setting fire to his bed. I think he is brilliant, said Harry coldly. Do you? Said the boy, with a slight sneer. Why is he with you? Where are your parents? They are dead, said Harry shortly. He didn't feel much like going out into the matter with this boy. Oh, sorry, said that another, not sounding sorry at all. But they weren't all kind, weren't they? They were a witch and wizard, if that's what you mean. I really don't think they should let the other sort in, do you? They are just not the same. They have never been through what to know our ways. Some of them have never ever heard of Hogwarts until they get the letter. Imagine. I think they should keep it in the old wizarding families. What's your surname anyway? But before Harry could answer, Madame Malkin said, That's you done, my dear. And Harry, not sorry for an excuse to stop talking to the boy, hopped down from the footstool. Well, I'll see you at Hogwarts, I suppose, said the drawling boy. Harry was rather quiet as he ate the ice cream Hagrid had brought him. Chocolate and raspberry with chopped nuts. What's up? Said Hagrid. Nothing, Harry lied. They stopped to buy parchment and crayons. Harry cheered up a bit when he found a bottle of ink that changed color as you wrote. When they had left the shop, he said, Hagrid, what's Quidditch? Blimley, Harry, I keep forgetting how little you know. Not knowing about which. Don't make me feel worse, said Harry. He told Hagrid about the pet boy in Madame Malkin, and he said people from Muggles' family shouldn't even be allowed in. You're not from Muggles' family. He had know who you are. He grown up knowing your name. If his parents are Wizardian folk, you saw what everyone in the Lickly Cauldron was like then they saw you. Anyway, what does he know about it? Some of the best I ever saw were the only one with magic. Them in a long line of muggles. At your mum. Look what she had for her sister. So what is Quidditch? It's our sport. Wizard sport. It's like a sorcery. In the muggles world, everyone follow Quidditch, played up in the air on a broomstick, and there's four ball. Sort of hard to explain the rule. And what are Slytherin and Hufflepuff? Schoolhouses. Yours four. Everyone says Hufflepuff are a lot of duffers, but I bet I am in Hufflepuff, said Harry gloomily. Better Hufflepuff than Slytherin, said Hagrid darkly. There's not a single witch or wizard who went bad who wasn't in Slytherin. You know who was one. Well, sorry, you know who was at Hogwarts. Years and years ago, the Hagrid. They brought Harry school books in a shop called Flourish and Boards, where the slaves were stuck to ceiling with books as large as pink stone bound in leather. Books the size of postage stamp in covers of silk. Books full of peculiar symbol and a few books with nothing in them all. Even Dudley, who never read anything, would have been wild to get his hand on some of this. Hagrid almost had to drag Harry away from curse and counter-curse, bewitch your friends and befool your enemies with latest revenge. Your lost jelly legs, tongue trying, and much, much more. By Professor Vindictus Wardian, I was trying to find out how to curse Dudley. I'm not saying that not a good idea, but you are not to use magic in the Muggles world except in very special circumstances, said Hagrid. And anyway, you don't want any of them curse yet. You'll need a lot more study before you get to that level. Hagrid wouldn't let Harry buy a solid golden cauldron either. Said pewter on your list. But they got a nice set of skulls for Willite potion ingredients and a collapsed brass telescope. Then they visited Crary, which was fascinating enough to make up for its horrible smell. Mixture of bad eggs and rotted cabbage, barrels of slimy stuff stood on the floor. Jars of herbs, dried roots, and bright powder lined the walls. Bundle of feathers, tearing and fangs, and snail claws hung from the ceiling, while Hagrid asked the man behind the counter for a supply of some basic potion ingredients for Harry. Harry himself examined silver unicorn horn at 21 gallons each and minuscule glittery black beetle eye, 5 nuts a scoop. Outside the apothecary, Hagrid checked Harry's list again. Just you want left. Yeah, and I still haven't got you a birthday present. Harry felt himself great. You don't have to. I know I don't have to. Tell you what, I'll get you an animal, not a toad. Toad went out of fashion a year ago. You had been laughed at And I don't like cats. They make me sneeze. I'll get you an owl. All the kids want. Owl. They are deadly useful. Carry your mails and everything. 20 minutes later, they left Isle Owl Emporium, which had been dark and full of rustling and flickering jewels' bright eyes. Harry now carried a large cage that held a beautiful snowy owl, fast asleep, with her head under her wings. He couldn't stop stammering his thanks, sounding just like Professor Quirrell. "Don't mention it," said Hagrid gruffly. "Don't expect you have had lot present from them, Dursley. Just Ollivanders left now. Only place for wands. Ollivanders and you got how the best wands. A magic wands." This was what Harry had been really looking forward to. The last shop was narrow and shabby. Spelling gold letter over the door read Ollivander, maker of fine wand since 382 BC. A single wand lay on a faded purple cushion in the dusty window. A tickling bell rang somewhere in the depth of the shop as they stepped inside. It was a tiny place, empty except for a single spindle chair that Hagrid sat on to wait. Harry felt strangely as though he had entered a very sticky library. He swallowed a lot of new questions that had just occurred to him and looked instead at the thousands of narrow boxes piled nearly light up to the ceiling. For some reason, the back of his neck pricked. The very dust and silence in here seemed to tingle with some secret magic. "Good afternoon," said the soft voice. Harry jumped. Hagrid must have jumped too, because there was a loud crunching noise and he got quickly off the spindle chair. An old man was standing before them, his white pale eyes shining like moon through the glooms of the shop. "Hello," said Harry awkwardly. Yes," said the man. Yes. I thought I had been seeing you soon, Harry Potter. It wasn't a question. You have your mother's eyes. Seems only yesterday she was in here herself buying her first one, 10 1/4 inch long, swishy, made of willow. Nice one for charm work." Mr. Ollivander moved closer to Harry. Harry wished he would blink. Those silvery eyes were a bit creepy. "Your father, on the other hand, favored a mahogany wand, 11 inches, pliable, a little more powerful and excellent for transfiguration." "Well, I say your father favored it. It's really the one that chose the wizards, of course." Mr. Ollivander had come so close that he had Harry were almost nose to nose. Harry could see himself reflect in those misty eyes, and that's where Mr. Ollivander touched the lightning scar on Harry's forehead with a long white finger. "I'm sorry to say I sold the wand that did it," he said softly. 13 1/2 inches. You powerful wand, very powerful, and in the wrong hand. Well, if I had known what that wand was going out into the world to do." He shook his head and then to Harry relief spotted Hagrid. Rubius, Hagrid. "How nice to see you again. Walk 16 inches rather bendy, wasn't it?" "It was, sir." "Yes," said Hagrid. "Good one, that one. But I suppose they snapped it in half when you got expelled," said Mr. Ollivander suddenly stern. "Oh, yes, they did." "Yes," said Hagrid, stuffing his feet. "I have still got peace though," he added brightly. "But you don't use them," said Mr. Ollivander sharply. "Oh, no," said Hagrid quickly. Harry noticed he gripped his pink umbrella very tightly as he spoke. Said Ollivander, giving Hagrid a piercing look. "Well, now, Mr. Potter, let me see." He pulled a long rap measure with a silver marking out of his pocket. Which is yours, one arm? Well, I'm right handed, said Harry. Hold out your arm, that's it. He measured Harry from shoulder to finger, then wrist to elbow, shoulder to floor, knee to armpit, and round and his head. As he measured, he said, every Ollivander wand was a score of powerful magical substance. Hotel. We use unicorn ears, phoenix tail, feathers, and the heartstring of dragons. No two Ollivander wand are the same, just as two unicorn dragon or phoenix are quite the same. And of course, you will never get such a good result with another wizard's wand. Harry suddenly realized that the tape measure was measuring between his nostrils was doing this on its own. Mr. Ollivander was flittering around the shelves, talking down boxes. That will do, he said, and then tape measure crumbled into a heap on the floor. Right then, Mr. Potter tried this one. Beechwood and dragon heartstring, 9 inches 9 and flexible. Just take it and give it wave. Harry took the wand and fling foolish wave it around a bit. Mr. Ollivander snatched it out of his hand almost at once. A maple and phoenix feather, 7 inches. Quite whipped fry. Harry tried, but he had hardly raised the wand when he took was snapped back by Mr. Ollivander. No, no, here. Ebony and unicorn here. 8.5 inches. Fringy. Go, go, go and try it. Harry tried and tried. He had no idea what Mr. Ollivander was waiting for. The pile of tried one was mounting higher and higher on the speedy chair. But the more wand Mr. Ollivander pulled from the sleeves shelves, the happier he seemed to become. Tricky customer. Oh, not to worry. We'll find the perfect match here somewhere. I wonder now. Yes, why not? Unusual combination. Holy and phoenix feather, 11 inches, nice and supple. Harry took the wand. He felt a sudden warmth in his finger. He raised the wand above his head, brought it swing down through a dusty air, and a stream of red and golden spark shot from the end like a firework, throwing dancing spot of light on the walls. Hagrid whooped and clapped, and Mr. Ollivander cried, "Oh, bravo! Yes, indeed! Oh, very good! Well, well, well! How curious! How very curious!" He put Harry's wand back into its box and wrapped it in a brown paper, still muttering, "Curious, curious." "Sorry," said Harry, "but what curious?" Mr. Ollivander fixed Harry with his pale stare. "I remember every wand I have ever sold. Mr. Potter, every single one. It so happened that the phoenix whose tail feather is in your wand gave another feather. Just one other. It is very curious indeed that you should be destined for this one. When its brother gave you that scar." Harry swallowed. "Yes, 13.5 inches. You curious indeed how these things happen. The one chooses wizard. Remember, I think we must expect great things from you, Mr. Potter. After all, he who must not be named did great things terribly. Yes, but great." Harry shivered. He wasn't sure he liked Mr. Ollivander too much. He paid 7 golden gallons for his wand, and Mr. Ollivander bought them from the shop. The late afternoon sun hung low in the sky as Harry and Hagrid made their way back down Diagon Alley, back through the wall, back through the leaky hall door, now empty. Harry didn't speak at all as they walked down the road. He didn't even recognize how much people were quietly gathered as they were here for a short happiness. Harry wasn't sure he could explain. He had just had the best birthday of his life, and yet he chewed his humber, trying to find the words. Everyone think I'm special, he said at last. All those poor people in the leaky cauldron, Professor Quirrell, Mr. Ollivander, but I don't know anything about magic at all. How can they expect great things? I'm famous and I can't even remember what I'm famous for. I don't know what happened when was sorry. I mean the night my parents died. Grid leaned across the table behind the wild beard and eyebrow. He wore a very kind smile. Don't you worry, Harry. You'll run fast enough. Everyone start at the beginning at Hogwarts. You'll be just fine. Just be her yourself. I know it's hard. You have been singled out, and that's always hard. But you'll have a great time at Hogwarts. I did, still do. Smarter of facts. Hagrid helped Harry on to train that would take him back to the Dursleys, then handed him an envelope. Your ticket of Hogwarts. He said, 1st of September, King's Cross, all on your ticket. Any problem with Dursley, send me a letter with your owl. She'll know where to find me. See you soon, Harry. The train pulled out of the station. Harry wanted to watch Hagrid until he was out of sight. The rose in his sat and pressed his nose against the window, but he blinked and Hagrid had gone. Thank you so much for today. Stay tuned for next chapter. Bye bye. See ya.